What's up, everybody? Welcome. My name is Kelvin Ma. I am the founder of RemoteScale.com. We are an Airbnb optimization service that helps your listing essentially get more visibility in the search rankings that occur within Airbnb. And so today I want to go over some non-related search ranking lessons and stuff like that, and really talk about SEO related stuff. So this is 7 Airbnb lessons that I grasped from a few Airbnb meetups. And essentially anytime I'm going to these Airbnb meetups, I want to have a couple questions that are prepared, because if you're going in there, you really want to go and you really want to leverage other people's knowledge, right? Because you spend all day at work doing your daily tasks, and you just get home and you're really tired, or maybe this is your full-time thing and Airbnb is really your bread and butter. But regardless of that, you're still probably going to be tired after your day at work. And this is an opportunity to really leverage other people's knowledge, like I said. And anytime I go and attend any sort of meetup or a conference or anything like that, I really want to know two specific things that are related to Airbnb in general. And that is, the first thing is that I want to know and I want to understand the local booking trends. So are we in a slow time right now, or are we in a fast-paced time? You know, like, because you can only see the stuff that you have access to right now, and those are your particular listings. So it's quite beneficial to have an understanding and see where other people are. From my experience and my knowledge, that regardless of whether you are in a slow season or not, there is always somebody who is consistently booked. So there's always people searching likely in your city, and there just happens to be someone who is consistently booked in your neighborhood or in your local city, regardless of your own situation there. So if you are not busy, then it's more than likely that someone else is busy though. All right, so that's finding out what the local booking trends are. Number 2, what are other Airbnb's hosts doing to stand out? So what are they doing to make a little bit more money beyond just the regular booking? Are they charging extra check-in fees and stuff like that? Like, how is that going for them? Is it actually helping them, essentially, right? Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. I'm not really sure, but I'm really trying to figure out what people are doing to stand out on their listing, because there's a whole bunch of different things that matter beyond the search engine optimization stuff. There's the actual the human element of it all as well, right? Which is intertwined in the hospitality industry. All right, so the first thing was, I want to understand booking trends, and I want to know what else people are doing to stand out. And when you go in there, you may have those questions in mind, and your own questions are going to guide you towards figuring out those answers, right? You may not always get those answers, but as long as you're kind of going in there with the mindset of trying to answer specific questions. And to be honest with you, those 2 questions to me are great questions for anyone to ask themselves when they go into an Airbnb listing or Airbnb meetup. So let's go over some lessons that I picked up and my team has picked up from going to Airbnb meetups. And number 1 is that you may be a host who is very hands-off, right? So you don't particularly like meeting guests per se, and maybe you don't really meet a lot of your guests at all. You're really hands-off on that, and whether that's whether you have a co-host or not that takes care of that stuff for you. I think this first lesson, which is that you should probably stay overnight in your Airbnb at least once a quarter, because this allows you to trade places with a guest, right? So the whole time when we're kind of looking at how the search algorithm works, we're kind of backlogging the actual customer journey for that, right? So there's that whole platform, the whole part where they're booking their stay on the platform and making your listing attractive in that aspect. But there's also that back end part too, right? Whereas the hospitality part of it comes in. which Airbnb does care a lot about, right? So it's not like they only care about the money at the very first booking. They actually want people to return back to the platform, and when people return back to the platform, a lot of those experiences have to do with you, right? So yeah, so the lesson there is just to take some notes, go to your place, however many places that you have, and really just check out what it's like to actually stay in your Airbnb listing overnight. You know, be very cognizant and aware of certain things that are misplaced, or how dirty certain things are, or maybe you know, just some stuff that you might miss, right? Like for instance, maybe your microwave, or you know, whatever it is that you just happen to forget to clean, because yeah, that happens. But so yeah, that's that first lesson, is just staying overnight in your place. Now, the second lesson has to do with what you can do to really combat the slow seasons, right? So, as I mentioned before, people are doing different things, and just because you are in a slow, you're not getting a lot of bookings right now, there probably are people in your city that are getting bookings, right? So, what are those people doing? And I would say that one neat trick that that you can do to combat the slow seasons in your area is to actually optimize your pricing for longer term stays. So instead of you know, adjusting your nightly rates, your individual nightly rates there, try and adjust your weekly and your monthly rates. And just because it's more beneficial for you to get longer stays in your Airbnb, and having less turnover and getting that, you know, that larger bulk set of income or revenue into your business there, then you know, investing in the turnover and all that kind of stuff, and you know, the cleaning fees and everything that goes along with that. You know, your bread and butter is likely the actual stay. So the longer you have people stay, the more money that you will make. Yeah, your days that you have free are less, that are open for other guests, but you know, hey, it's a slow season, get what you can, and that's a good way to get more guests or attract more guests into your place. So the third lesson that I learned is that if something happens to your Airbnb listing from a guest, and you go back there, it's really important for you to report that as quickly as possible. Okay, so the tip that I was given is that you should be reporting your accidents within 48 hours. And to be honest with you, I reached out to Airbnb, and they said that you should report it as quickly as possible, and it has to be before the next person checks in. Okay. So if you are in a situation where you get to your listing, and let's say you are the person that's cleaning your listing, and that's at 11 o'clock. So you get there at 11 a.m. and the place is just, you know, there's some damage, right? I'm not going to say what kind of damage, but there's definitely some sort of damage, and that kind of varies, right? So what you would do there is you'd have to report that immediately to Airbnb. You know, take as many pictures as you can, get all of your ducks in order essentially, and report that stuff to Airbnb. But make sure that you start the ticket right away. So if you have someone coming in at 4 p.m. and the last person checked out at 11 p.m. or 11 a.m. that damaged your place, then you need to report that before that next person checks in. Okay, and as long as you have that ticket started, then that's kind of the first process. And then you have the opportunity to get all your stuff and get that all wrapped up as soon as possible. You know, like, don't wait around for a week. You know, get that stuff solved, because Airbnb is a big company, right? And they want to get stuff solved for you quickly, just like you want to have it done quickly too, right? And it's also lost revenue depending on how damaged your place is. And that's unfortunate that happens, but luckily we have Airbnb's insurance to help us cover those sorts of things, right? So that's the third tip right there, is to report stuff as quickly as possible to Airbnb. And number 4 is outside bookings. Okay, so I'm going to give you a scenario that happened to a fellow host around in my neighborhood here. And what happened is that they had taken an Airbnb listing. They had taken an Airbnb booking in a sense, but outside of Airbnb. Sorry, that may not make sense, but really what happened is that that person was a previous guest that stayed with them through the Airbnb platform, and they already had their phone number and stuff like that. And then that particular guest had reached out to this landlord, and they asked whether they could stay in the place and avoid the Airbnb fees and stuff like that, right? And this host said, yeah, sure, we'll do that for you, because last time you stayed, you were fantastic. So assuming based on, the past experiences that we had, then let's move forward with this, right? And what happened is that person happened to be, they happened to kind of incur some damages. What happens is that they had a medical problem, and then the police had to come and knock open the door, essentially. So that kind of broke the door, and that's, that sucks. But unfortunately, what happened is that since that particular booking was not booked inside of the Airbnb platform, and it was just a completely private transaction, then it wasn't covered by the Airbnb insurance. So that's just one of those situations that's not great. So regardless of whether somebody has booked with you previously, and if they want to book outside of the Airbnb platform, it's best that you do it, that you just, you eat the fees and stuff like that, and you ask them to book inside, because it's better for you and it's better for them at the end of the day. All right. So, so the next lesson that we have, the fifth lesson that we have, is just that when you go and you attend these Airbnb meetups, is that you're going to get a lot of different knowledge from a lot of different people, right? Like you may have thought that you have a good understanding of the stuff that's happening around you, but there's probably someone at these meetings that just happens to understand the local bylaws a lot more than you, and that's pretty helpful, I would say. Considering that Airbnb is, it is a world-changing platform, and what happens with these disruptive types of companies is that the local bylaws have to adjust to their types of business models, just like what happened with Uber, right? So it's the same thing. Uber and Airbnb are kind of these new unicorns that have come up in the startup world and have kind of overtaken and changed the way that a lot of business happens in certain industries and stuff like that. So it's good to understand the local bylaws, and going to these Airbnb meetings is really going to help you. I've learned quite a bit about the local bylaws. I don't particularly listen to the news very often, and that's just, honestly, that's my choice on that. But yeah, it's good that I get my little catch up with that, and I can really leverage other people's knowledge in knowing the things that are important to Airbnb specifically in my local area. So beyond that, you kind of have to look at different things that are going to affect you besides the local bylaws, right? So the local bylaws are those things that you can't really control, but what are the things that you can control, right? So, and one of the things that you can control is that you don't have to put all your eggs in a single basket, right? So you can go and add your listing to different channels, all right? So if you're just on Airbnb, consider putting your stuff on vrbo.com, or maybe adding it on booking.com. And those are three popular booking platforms, travel booking, vacation rental platforms that people in North America are utilizing almost every day, to be honest with you. So it's definitely worth it to add your listing onto there, just because it's just, it might take you a couple hours, let's say, to really clean up your listing and make it attractive on there. I can't say that I'm an expert in any of those other booking platforms. We may investigate those into the future, but right now, we know Airbnb the best, and that's kind of what we're sticking to. But but don't be afraid of adding your stuff onto VRBO or onto Booking.com as well. Just because, for instance, with Booking.com, you get a lot of international business people traveling through there. So that's kind of, that's a good benefit of having, business travelers coming there, just because generally you're really lowering the risk that you have rather than renting it out to, a bachelor party full of full of 8 guys. not that 8 guys can't handle and clean up a place, but it's definitely something to think about, adding your listing onto different channels and really eliminating some risk and getting some extra revenue in there as well, right? So that brings us to our final point, and that is number 7. And so since we're on the theme of eliminating risk, the one thing that you might want to look into is extra insurance. And extra insurance is just short-term rental insurance that you can grab that covers you beyond the Airbnb insurance. Whenever you do have a booking on Airbnb, the insurance coverage that Airbnb has is going to be the primary insurance holder for that specific stay, if it does happen to go through an Airbnb guest. So that's what they want to do. They want to be the primary provider for that. But it's always good to have extra insurance, because you never know how it could save your ass one day. And if you are on other platforms like VRBO or Booking.com, I believe that VRBO does have insurance. I'm not sure about Booking.com. I guess it would make sense if they did, but don't hold my word for that. Regardless, you should have extra short-term rental insurance. And if this is a business that you're going to take seriously, and if it is starting to become, or it is your bread and butter, I think you should strongly consider having extra insurance in your properties. It is going to be more expensive than the usual property insurance, if it is your primary residence, but it's just eliminating some risk off of yourself and really covering yourself on that. I'm personally not a big fan of insurance, but there are times and places where those things can come in, and they can be extremely helpful for you in situations that you did not expect. And that is the reason why this is the last tip, and kind of probably the most impactful tip, I would say. So all those lessons combined, I hope that this has kind of inspired you to talk to more Airbnb hosts, work together with them, regardless of whether the fact that they are in your local neighborhood or not. It's just good to kind of get some tips in and really learn about different strategies that people are employing to better their hospitality skills, because Airbnb is great. It provides a lot of income. It's really helped a lot of people with their mortgages, and maybe just given a lot of people some freedom too, right? So if you want to take this a step further and you really want to build your Airbnb business even bigger, then it's really important, I think, for you to go and talk and learn and leverage the knowledge that other Airbnb hosts have in your local area and perhaps worldwide as well. So we didn't talk at all about Airbnb rankings, as much as I love to talk about that kind of stuff and kind of explore and do different tests and everything like that to get more visibility for Airbnb listings. If you are interested in that particular field of study, I suppose, then go and click onto the bottom. I've got a link there for you, and it'll go over some quick Airbnb ranking strategies that you can use and employ into your Airbnb listing immediately. So thanks again, guys, for paying attention for these quick lessons here. And if you have any questions, leave a comment. If you like the video as well. That'd be fantastic. And so I'll talk to you guys soon.